And now to our first conversation. Most recent trends analysis show the B2B e-commerce business segment is growing and expanding significantly. Research and advisory firm Forrester projects B2B e-commerce global market value to reach about $25.65 trillion by 2028. In Nigeria, the B2B e-commerce platforms are creating and expanding opportunities for manufacturing sector and distributive segment through digital channels that increase their efficiency. Well, join us now is Chidi Akubiro, MD, Trade Depot, West Africa. Join us right here on Business Morning. Great to have you.
Morning, Lali. Thank you very much.
Morning. Can you give us a quick overview of the B2B space in Nigeria? That's the business-to-business segment.
Okay, so good question. If we're talking about the B2B section, we can't but stay away from the historic. So where are we coming from in terms of how has the retail chain, value chain been across these businesses? From the onset, it's been predominantly the distributors. So the manufacturer gets the product across to the distributor within the chain, and the distributor gets it to the wholesaler gets it to the retailer, right? That has always been the channel. And then you have the retailer who is the final bus stop before the consumer. So at that end, it becomes a B2C transaction. But it has been predominantly structured to support the distributors, and even till most recently, we still have it predominantly still within the distributors' coverage, right? But over the couple of 3 to 4 years, you have structures that have come in place that have been able to focus on digitizing the retailer to see how we could get the retailer to also have the power of e-commerce, as you say, to be able to get products directly from the manufacturer, right? So parties like Trade Depot would be that bridge, right, to go between the manufacturer directly to the wholesaler, right? So making sure that that chain is cut a little bit short and faster, the manufacturer able to get his products on the shelf of these B2B stores, these retail stores, and across different ranges, and also the retailer being able to get his products from one source as opposed to the different sources that were existing before.
Quite interesting. But what are the biggest, pain points, and how do they impact, these businesses?
Well, in terms of pain points, the biggest pain point for these businesses would be the lack of access to financing, right? Because picture a typical retailer is a wholesaler in the making or a distributor in the making, and the only limitation is the funding, right? And since most of these retailers are typically within the neighborhood, there is a lot of opportunity for them to be able to service their neighborhood, but they need financing to increase their assortment, to increase the ranges on their shelves, and this typically is a problem. And their solutions we're providing right now to see, okay, how can we give them access to this funding? How can we create some sort of economic identity for them and be able to rate them and rank them and offer financing to them, some sort of buy now, pay later system to see how we can get them to stock up and be able to service the retailer, the consumers within their neighborhood. Second issue you would look at is the distance to market. So a typical retailer you have now in the neighborhood who wants to stock up his shop would have to close his store for a day, travel to a local market within his location, get stock from the market and still transport it back. So he's losing time, which he could have used to sell out to his consumers. He's losing money, which he has also invested in transportation. And this is one of the major pain points that they also have. Aside, obviously, the limited access to products, because the journey to the market does not guarantee that the product they would want to purchase is available for them, right? So these are basic pain points that they have.
And said about the impact of inflation, most have called it this year the year of the squeeze, on consumers. But how are small neighborhood businesses, coping with these rising prices?
I mean, the reality is that where we are, right, with inflation rising even to its highest point last month at close to 17%, right? But with that comes increase in prices from the manufacturers, right? And also part of the gap, which I mentioned earlier, of having to go to the market to go and purchase these products by the retailers. Within that value chain, there are a lot of players that exist. So at each point in time, some form of margins or markups are put on, which makes the products even more expensive for the retailer to be able to acquire. That link that we have between the manufacturer and the retailer that we're creating now would enable us to kind of create some sort of soft landing for the retailer, right, in such a way that he gets the products at the best possible price. So he's able to still maintain his clientele of consumers that come to him and also not feel the full effect of the price increases that are coming regularly. Also, the access to financing, which we have also proposed, gives him an opportunity to be able to buy more and also stock up his store ahead of possible price increases, even as the inflation still is rising. I mean, if you look at it in the real sense, the consumption occasion doesn't end. So people would always still go for their essentials, right? So yes, even though the prices are going up, what the retailer is doing now is to choose the core essential products to have on his shelf, which he knows that his final consumer would always be interested in coming to purchase from him, right? So these are part of the issues that we are forming solutions for.
Quite interesting. And we know the MPC recently, raised rates, and it seems like, going forward, we might see more, aggressive rate hikes. But what is your, how do you see your sector actually managing, these rate hikes?
Well, I mean, we would still, like I said, you can't shy away from the essentials, right? Even though there are price hikes, an individual, I won't say I won't brush my teeth because the price of toothpaste has increased, right? So within that space, what you would see is people taking decisions to stick to what they know they need on a daily, right? So the essentials would always be the focus. And yes, maybe the basket size may seem to reduce, but the essentials will still be purchased, right? So that opportunity still remains to be harnessed, right, at the retail point.
Right, and Africa's SME retailers generate about $1 trillion in sales annually and contribute $2.6 trillion to the continent's nominal GDP. But a fragmented distribution network, lack of access to financing has led to, inefficiencies when it comes to distribution and, with many missed opportunities. How are they working to solve these problems?
Yeah, so solving the problem is in two ways, right? In terms of the fragmented distribution, I know I've mentioned earlier on, not to sound like a broken record, but the current chain, right, the value chain obviously leads to this fragmented distribution. And access to products is the most important thing for the retailer. Right, so I mean, solving this is building that bridge, that direct bridge that enables the manufacturer to have all his products across the range on the shelves of the retailers. And we're doing it right now by introducing tech, aggregating supplies or products from these manufacturers, introducing this tech to the retailers, digitizing the retailers, making sure that they have the power in their hands to basically place orders and get those products delivered to them within the shortest possible time. We're also doing this by introducing financing, right? So how do I create that identity for the retailer in such a way that I can be able to credit score him and give him stock at a particular value, and get him to pay me in a week or in 2 weeks period, right? But giving him an opportunity to have a flexible working capital that he can use to basically build up his business, fill up his store, and make himself appealing to his final consumer.
And a recent report suggested that retail sales in Nigeria increased in 2021 after trending south, for a few years. What do you think could be, contributing to this?
Well, I mean, part of how we're blessed in this country is our population keeps increasing every day, right? And with growing population, you tend to see also the growing retail chain, right, which has to serve this population, right, within the communities, within the neighborhoods, and since 95% of that is informal, right? So we are sure that as we increase in size, there will always be openings for people, small business owners, to open supermarkets, to open convenience stores, to open neighborhood shops, just to be able to cater for that growing population, right? So, I mean, as this continues to grow, you will continue to see those opportunities come out, and obviously that would be part of the reason for the increase that you just stated.
Quite interesting. But give me now an outlook for this B2B space, this year, considering the changing dynamics we're seeing before our eyes.
Well, I mean, it is going to be an interesting ride. We would have a lot of players coming into the market. We would also continue to see how we would digitize this retailer, how we would make him stronger in terms of his power to make that decision. We would see how, obviously, that space, we would open up to see how we can get products faster to these customers within a short period of time. Obviously, we would see that increase in terms of the financing, so more credits available to retailers to do more business, to expand their businesses and become even stronger, obviously leading to higher sales, higher profits for each of these retailers. So that space is really going to get bigger as we go on.
Right. Well, we'll keep tracking it to see how it grows. Thank you so much, Chidi Akubiro, MD, West Africa Trade People. It was great having you on the program.